The Unreal Estate Series. Book 1. One Crooked House. Chapter 1. Happy listening. There's no place like home, unless it's haunted. Chapter 1. The Hoarder's House. Picture yourself in this country setting. Located in a cozy valley, yet close enough to the city for an easy commute. This unpretentious home will need some updating. Features include a dining room that seats a dozen with ease, and a living room with an expansive window to enjoy the view of a spacious treed yard. Some landscaping will be necessary. A great project for a gardener with a green thumb. A handy mudroom and powder room adjoin the kitchen, which sports hardwood cabinets, and is plenty large enough for a family-friendly table. The second level offers 4 sizable bedrooms, and a delightful reading nook. The home is still structured to take advantage of the rainwater collecting system in the basement with a large cistern. Plenty of potential for the right homeowner. Price to sell. Mandy-Lynn was showing a rundown, 2-story house to a squabbling young couple, who was clearly on the fast track to divorce, when she noticed an odd smell. It was her first client appointment since the 2 weeks of sick leave that had followed the tiger incident, as it was being referred to at her office, which was certainly preferable to the dying incident, or the inevitable zombie jokes. The smell was distinctly gassy, and not in an automotive way. Had one of her clients farted? After eating a bowlful of beans for breakfast. She glanced at the couple, but neither the young man nor the young woman gave any overt sign of having farted. And neither seemed to have noticed the odor, perhaps because they were too busy bickering over the size of the closet in the master bedroom, as they had argued about some detail in every single room in the extremely cluttered house. 503 Caramel Crescent had been a country home, until the city encroached. The house now existed in a sort of no man's land, or no house's land, that was neither country nor suburb, but something in between. It had a large yard and plenty of mature trees, and while its neighbors were close enough to shout at, they weren't close enough to infringe on the residents' privacy. A definite selling point. 503 Caramel Crescent had also been the home of a hoarder, now deceased, a definite selling deterrent. Not to speak ill of the dead, but the former owner's motto had probably been something like, 20 teapots are much better than one. And the same rule applied to every item a person should, and should not own. In Mandy-Lynn's opinion, nobody needed 20 teapots, or 246 mugs, to pour that tea into. Yes, she had counted. She had been curious. Once the house was sold, there was going to have to be one heck of an estate sale, plus a couple of oversized dumpsters to cart off the stacks of old magazines and newspapers, and the mind-boggling amount of detritus, like plastic food containers and styrofoam containers and rags and bags of elastic bands and corks and... It hurt her eyes to simply look at all the junk a person could accumulate over a lifetime, if they didn't throw anything away. Mandy-Lynn wandered out of the bedroom, to give the squabbling couple time to settle things, and to avoid the unpleasant odor, which was lingering. She could almost see it, like a green wavy haze, or her eyes were playing tricks on her. In truth, she hadn't felt like herself since she had drowned. Died. Maybe 2 weeks of recuperation hadn't been enough. She probably had PTSD, post-tiger stress disorder, or something that caused minor hallucinations and took longer than 14 days to get over. Her co-workers had welcomed her back to work warmly enough. There had been tepid applause and muffins. Bought, not homemade. A bouquet of slightly droopy flowers had decorated the desk where she usually filled out paperwork, looking more funereal than celebratory to Mandy-Lynn's eyes. The agents, who happened to be in the office at the time of her return, had asked the expected questions, such as, "How are you feeling?" and "How are you doing?" Mandy-Lynn had answered, "Fine." She hadn't answered, "Odd," which would have been the unvarnished truth. The offensive odor was stronger out in the hallway, and the green haze was denser. Was there somebody else in the house? Somebody who was hiding and farting up a storm? Which might have explained the odor, but not the putrid green haze. She couldn't think of one rational explanation for that, aside from a PTSD hallucination. Mandy-Lynn had been born with a streak of curiosity as wide as an elephant's backside. It had gotten her into an endless stream of trouble as a child, so she had learned to curb it by the time she reached those awkward teenage years. Yet, it was always lurking inside her, eager to be unleashed. Mandy-Lynn unleashed it now. She plugged her nose and followed the haze down the hallway, skirting around overflowing bookcases, and little tables crowded with dusty knickknacks, and even a dressmaker's dummy, of all things. It was certainly preferable to listening to Tyler and Lisa, who were now kissing and making up after their latest little spat. Hopefully they weren't doing more than kissing, like giving their potential future bedroom a test drive. The house was furnished, abundantly, so there was a bed in there. It might have 43 pillows on it, but they could be tossed off if one was sufficiently motivated. Apparently the hoarding homeowner had died in the house, but of natural causes, so Mandy-Lynn was not legally bound to disclose that little tidbit to potential buyers. People could be funny about a house that someone had died in. "Don't you think about death," Mandy-Lynn muttered, or Tyler and Lisa unzipping in the master bedroom. "And stop talking to yourself." She seemed to be doing an awful lot of that since the tiger incident. Mandy-Lynn trailed the green fog into the bathroom. Of course that's where it was coming from. Bad pipes or a sewage leak. Yet, when she had showed the bathroom to her clients mere minutes earlier, it had been as fresh as the 8 cans of floral air spray that sat on the back of the toilet. She surveyed the bathroom and caught a glimpse of her reflection in the mirror. There was no denying that she was looking better than usual. Her hair, normally a limp mud puddle brown, appeared bouncy and shiny, as if she had super conditioned it, which she hadn't. Her brown eyes looked brighter and more golden somehow, almost lit from within. And her face looked less pudgy, as if she had been on a diet, one that she had stuck to, and one that had actually worked. Maybe she had dropped a few pounds due to her ordeal. Death becomes her and all that. Her clothes were feeling looser. She smiled at her new and improved self, and the reflection in the mirror shifted, as if it was a TV and someone had changed the channel. Suddenly, Mandy-Lynn was looking at herself standing in a dark field. No, there were gravestones. She was standing in a graveyard, so close to a freshly dug grave that one misstep, and she would have tumbled into it, if it was really there. The reflection was so real that she glanced behind her back, surprised to find herself still standing in the undeniably ugly bathroom, with its baby blue toilet and tub, framed by flesh-colored pink tiles and moldy grout, and edged with 22 bottles of shampoo and conditioner, and 6 bars of soap and 12 razors. Mandy-Lynn turned back to the mirror, which still reflected a creepy cemetery in the dead of night. Was the grave hers? Because she had died. Her reflection began to flicker, and waver and spark, and it changed into someone else. Her reflection wasn't of her anymore. It was someone taller and thinner, and slightly stooped. Because of the night darkness of the image in the mirror, it was hard to see exactly who her reflection had transformed into, although it looked to be a skinny old man. She leaned forward and squinted, trying to discern details. Her hand reached out slowly to touch the mirror, and employ one more of her 5 senses. A ghostly moan of pain stopped her hand. Mirrors did not normally moan. Then again, mirrors did not normally reflect scenes and people that weren't there before them. She stepped away, fast, and the back of her knees hit the tub. She fell in, landing on her bottom with a painful thud, and knocking several bottles of shampoo and conditioner onto her lap. Luckily the tops were closed. "Oh good grief," Mandy-Lynn groaned. She struggled awkwardly out of the tub. Rubbing her bruised backside, her eyes immediately sought the mirror. It now showed a flushed Mandy-Lynn, and the unsightly bathroom. It showed exactly what it should. Had she just experienced another hallucination? First green smelly haze and now a graveyard at midnight in a mirror. Mandy-Lynn gave her head a mental and a physical shake, as if to clear out the cobwebs. Again, she leaned a little closer to the mirror, squinting at it suspiciously. It remained true. She winked one eye, then the other, and so did her reflection. She stuck out her tongue and winked some more and flapped her arms as if she was doing the chicken dance, and so did her reflection. The mirror was definitely back to normal. "Are you okay?" asked a deep voice, not from the mirror, but from the doorway. She spun around to find Tyler, and Lisa looking at her as if she was as nutty as a squirrel's winter stash. "Oh, yes, everything is as right as rain. I just had something in my eye." Her explanation might have explained away the winking, but it did not address the flapping chicken dance arms, or the sticking out tongue. "Sure," Tyler drawled. "Yeah, right," Lisa said, in that tone that means quite the opposite. Mandy-Lynn mustered up a smile, and herded her clients away from the bathroom. A quick glance over her shoulder confirmed that the mirror was still behaving itself. "Are you ready to see the yard?" she asked, sounding only a wee bit frazzled and freaked out. "I guess," Tyler said, without enthusiasm. Lisa shrugged. If Mandy-Lynn was any judge, her clients were not interested in this perfectly suitable house for their limited budget. Once the years of accumulated hoarding were cleared out, the house would be a perfectly nice fixer-upper. It had good bones, a dry solid foundation, hardwood floors, a spacious property, and 4 bedrooms. But a person had to be able to look past the hoarding, and piles of newspapers, and magazines, and everything else. Many prospective buyers lacked the imagination to do so. She escorted Tyler and Lisa outside anyway. The fenced yard needed a lot of TLC, just like the house. Larger items were piled outside, things like broken lawn furniture, lumber, old crates, a collapsing shed stuffed with who knew what, and so much more. The grass that was visible to the eye was weedy and patchy, and the narrow flower bed was defiantly scraggly. To be fair, no lawn or garden looked anything but neglected in November, when the vegetation had been killed by frost and it could snow at the drop of a tuque. But all the garbage and broken junk did not help this yard put its best foot forward. It made the yard look like a hillbilly haven. Lisa and Tyler glanced around. "A lot of garbage," Tyler said. "A lot of garbage," Lisa parroted, with emphasis. The young couple looked completely overwhelmed. "All of it will be cleared away before the new owner takes possession," Mandy-Lynn assured them. They mulled that over until Lisa began to shiver. "It's cold out," she whined. Tyler turned back toward the house. Mandy-Lynn took the hint. "Let's go visit the next property," she said. They still had 3 more places to view, but in Mandy-Lynn's opinion, this one had the most potential. "I need a coffee," Tyler said. "Yeah," Lisa said. "We'll stop at a drive-thru." Mandy-Lynn dredged up another smile, although it required a Herculean effort. Annoying clients didn't usually bother her, at all. Annoying clients were simply part of the job, water off a duck's back, and all that, but for some reason, Tyler and Lisa were getting on her last nerve, and they weren't even overly annoying. Around the real estate office, Mandy-Lynn had a reputation for having the patience of a saint. If a client was particularly skittish or in need of anger management classes, or just wanted to visit hundreds of houses without ever buying one, they were usually assigned to Mandy-Lynn. Tyler and Lisa were angels in comparison to some clients she had dealt with, and yet, she wanted to tie the couple to a rocket and launch them into outer space, just like in a cartoon. Blame it on PTSD, she thought. She locked the front door, then replaced the key into the attached lockbox. The system allowed other real estate agents to show the house at any time, without the inconvenience of tracking down a key. Lockboxes made a real estate agent's job so much easier. She drove her clients to the next property, via a drive-thru that served steaming cups of takeout coffee. She treated, including a box of a dozen assorted donuts, endeavoring to sweeten the pair's mood. And she ordered a large coffee for herself, hoping the caffeine might stave off hallucinations as well as fatigue. She really didn't want to have another hallucination, especially while behind the wheel. That could kill them all. They arrived safely at the next property. Tyler and Lisa were even less impressed with the small, two-bedroom bungalow. Things went downhill from there. Tyler and Lisa weren't pleased with any of the properties she showed them, and grew increasingly pouty and petulant, in spite of the coffee and donuts. Mandy-Lynn wanted to smack them both, but she restrained herself admirably. With an inner sigh of relief, Mandy-Lynn dropped them back at their car, which was parked outside the select real estate office. Before they parted ways, she promised them she would ferret out some new and improved listings for their budget. If such properties existed, she would find them, but she had her doubts. The couple drove off in a brand spanking new Audi, taking the remaining donuts with them. She had insisted. If they had bought an older, used car, they would have had more money to put towards a down payment on a house. Oh well, their priorities and financial decisions were not her business. Finding them a house that would make them happy, that was her business.